Good morning, Imagine, and happy Sunday. And it's good to be able to be back together via virtual platform after taking a break like we did last week and doing something a little bit differently. Last week, Imagine held a drive-through church experience because as the world is reopening up, so is Imagine in our own unique way, keeping in mind the safety and the health of everyone, social distancing and all. And so last week, Sunday, during our drive-through experience, see, that's how we roll, no puns intended for 2020. That's church COVID edition right there. But it was just such a special reunion and a beautiful homecoming that gave us a glimpse into the days that are yet ahead where we get to be back together. Seeing the cars drive through the parking lot where we once met every Sunday in person before the pandemic hit was unbelievable. And as every car drove through, there were different stations that were set up in the parking lot of the Sandbox. A station where you were greeted with a lei, being welcomed and being celebrated for your journey and how far you've come. A station of hospitality where treats and coffee and water were given to nourish yourself for the journey ahead while reminding you that you are still seen and cared for and not forgotten. A station where we were able to connect with Kevin, our pastor, and to connect with worship, being able to be ushered into worship, into the presence of God in an intimate way. A station where we got to experience communion after not taking communion for 7 months, being able to finally do it in person and being able to receive prayer over was so special and so powerful. And lastly, the station where everyone was given a little gift, a little gesture in mind to keep with you on your journey, to know that you are a part of a community that loves you and is with you. And everyone was given a Polaroid picture of themselves, so a moment frozen in time, symbolizing the special reunion that we got to experience. So if you showed up on Sunday, would you know that you were as much of a blessing as that whole experience was? And if you could not make it out, would you know that you were deeply missed, and that we pray and that we hope that we get to see you in the next one, or sooner than later. But again, it was absolutely special to be able to be there together. You know, it's crazy to think 7 months, that's over half of a year. And there's a saying in parenthood, when you're raising little ones, how the days may feel long, but the years are short. And I think about these 7 months, how there have been moments that have felt very long. But then you're like, whoa, 7 months have gone by. And everything that we have experienced in these 7 months becomes a memory that has birthed a deep sense of resiliency, a deep sense of grit and grace in all of our story. And so would you know, Imagine Church, just what an absolute blessing you are to the community and to the world, and that you would live into that with joy and with hope. A moment that stood out to me during Sunday was when we got to take communion together. So after church had ended and after we had cleaned up, our core team came together and we got to take communion. We got to pray and we got to reflect. And in that moment of reflection, I was reminded of the Jesus story. The Jesus story that also has the element of communion. And even in the midst of communion, there are moments that we see in the Jesus story of betrayal, moments of people not sticking around, moments of despair, moments of loss and confusion, moments of long waiting and lamenting and crying out. But even in the face of all of that, communion reminds us that there is always life on the other side of death, that there is always newness after long seasons of waiting, that the best days truly are yet ahead if you can endure these tough and challenging moments and allow God to do the sacred and holy work He desires to do in these times. And so would you imagine, church, be encouraged during this Sunday? And would you leave a little bit more hopeful, a little bit more lighter, and a little bit more joy-filled for your journey ahead?
Take the bread of life, broken for all my sins, your body crucified to make me whole again. For your new covenant, hallelujah. I live my life in remembrance, hallelujah. Your promise I won't forget. Salvation's road with fear and trembling. Your way will as my own, as Christ is formed in me. So good to me. You've been so good to me. Oh, to think where I would be if not for you, if not for you. You've been so good to me. You've been so good to me. Oh, to think where I would be if not for you, if not for you. You've been so good to me. You've been so good to me. Oh, to think where I would be if not for you, if not for you.
Hey gang, good morning. We're out here on the North Shore and just wanted to say hi to everybody and hope everything's going good. Just a little thing about Sunday. That was a really good thing that happened on Sunday. It was good to see everybody. And I was thinking that the drive-through thing really worked, pretty unreal. And I don't know, just coming into that parking lot and then getting a lei, having a scone and a cold brew, maybe a couple little blessings from Kevin, and then having communion with Larry and Chanel, and then getting your picture taken at the end. I thought that was a really good deal, and Marty's worship was awesome. So I just want to say it was good to see everybody. I thought it was a really special thing to do after 7 months, and hopefully good things come from it and things get a little better for everybody. So just want everybody to take care. I imagine it was nice seeing a lot of you on Sunday, Miss Talking Starry and yesing around, and it was. And I just want to say take care, and the next time we really get to see each other, it'll even be better than before. So take care and love all you guys. Aloha. Aloha.
It was so nice seeing everyone and getting some of those elements of a normal Sunday. For me, that was, like seeing Marty playing music live, catching up with Jess by the coffee table, and of course Christine, making you teary-eyed. But I think my main takeaway from going through this experience last Sunday was just feeling like Imagine is like one of the few constants that I've had through the pandemic, but then realizing that it's really not just Imagine as the constant, that really it's God has been with me through all of this, and that He is really the constant that's, been here through every step of this.
Last week's church experience was such a refresher and such a positive experience for me and Tanner. We ended up leaving after going through all the stations just with smiles on our faces, because we felt so blessed to see everyone and so blessed to have that human interaction. And it really drove home the fact that church is not about the building or the place, but it's all about the people. And it's all about the connections that we all share, how we're able to uplift each other's even during this time, like when we're apart. And we just felt super blessed by Kevin and Christine thinking outside of the sandbox.
On our way to Imagine, we stopped at Waioli Tea Room, and right where you pour the little almond milk into your coffee, there was a sign that said the best is yet to come. And on our way to church service, my car, we were like talking about that quote, what that means to us, and like, I don't know, we just like had a conversation about it. And anyways, pulling up to Imagine, it was so amazing to see Marty playing, to see Uncle Mark and Auntie Paula, to see Kevin and Christine, Brian. Like, it was just so amazing to see everyone there in person, and give me like the spark of hope and understanding that like this is where I'm meant to be. Even though like looking back, I would never have imagined that we'd be doing a drive-through church. Like, it just still felt so right. And so when Christine kind of was talking to us, I mentioned the friends in my car like have never been to Imagine before, and one of my friends kind of got like teary-eyed, and it just like put me back to when I first started going to Imagine. And I remember crying like Sunday after Sunday, like the first time going. And so it just like kind of took me back to that moment, and how special of a time that was when I was first starting to like lean into God. And then Christina ended her prayer with the quote, literally saying, "The best is yet to come," and my mouth just like dropped. Like the synchronicity of that, like it was like magical. And so yeah, I can't wait for more drive-throughs and seeing everyone. It's unique and it's special, and I love you guys.
Sunday for me felt like a long-awaited warm hug. It was just so good to see people I haven't seen in a long time, and it was truly a reminder of God's goodness. I think lately it's been so easy for me to fall into patterns of negativity and seeing what's wrong or bad in the world. And Sunday was a reminder of everything good. Just seeing the leaders there and everyone who came through and getting to talk to people face to face just reminded me of how lucky I am to have such good people in my life and a great community. And it encouraged me to just keep going and know that I'm not alone in all of this.
Take me back to the garden. Lead me back to the moment I heard your voice. Take me back to communion. Lead me back to the moment I saw your face. And it was all so simple. You're so easy to love. And no space between us. You're so easy to trust. 'Cause you are closer, closer than my skin. And you are in the air I'm breathing. Here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. And it feels so good to know you are my friend. This is the garden. Here in the place that finds you close. This is communion. Here in the place I'm fully known. And it was all so simple. You're so easy to love. No space between us. You're so easy to trust. 'Cause you are closer, closer than my skin. And you are in the air I'm breathing. Here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. And it feels so good to know you are my friend. This is where we're meant to be. Me and you and you and me. I don't have to prove a thing. You've already approved of me. This is where I'm meant to be. Me and you and me. And I don't have to prove a thing. You've already approved of me. Closer, closer than my skin. feels so good to know you are my friend. And it feels so good to know you are my friend. And it feels so good to know you are my friend.
For me, it was just a beautiful experience to see everybody again in the flesh and reconnect with everyone. And I think that's something that everybody's desired. It's just like the human connection. I think it was a moment for Brian and I to serve together for the first time, which was really special for us. But most importantly, it was a day I think that God just shows His presence and how faithful He is to us. But overall, it's just a feeling of gratitude, thanksgiving, just for everybody showing up and everyone that helped. Couldn't have asked for a better Sunday. Like I said, it's just a reminder that Jesus is in control. He has a plan, and He does love us and desires more for us. And I can't wait till we all meet up in person again. Look forward to that. Thank you.
Seeing everybody so happy to be there and listening to people's stories and their struggles during COVID made me more comfortable with my struggle, knowing that we're all coming here happy and going through the same thing. So yeah, it made me really appreciate what I was going through.
For me, I thought this was awesome. Not seeing you guys in a long time, and then coming together for like 5 to 10 minutes, I felt like was really nice. And then another thing is like, whenever I watch the sermons and whenever I see you guys like virtually, I'm always so touched by you guys' words and everyone's videos and stuff. And then so this drive-through experience and seeing everybody in person kind of intensified those feelings, and it made me feel really grateful to know you guys and to be a part of this community. And I think this experience showed me God's love and His kindness, because I always think of the saying that you guys always say about how people don't know they're loved by God because they're not loved by others. And so by doing this drive-through, I felt like, as you guys said, we were celebrated, and it made me feel really grateful. And I was like sobbing the whole time because I was just so happy to see you guys. But anyway, we're so grateful for you guys and for everything you do. And hopefully we can see each other soon again.
My experience from this past Sunday's church drive-through was incredible. It was so much fun and not really sure how it was going to work out, but it was so perfect that we got to see everyone's smiling faces out there. It definitely was needed because even though we were apart for 7 months, it felt like we did not miss one Sunday together because everyone just was so welcoming, made me feel seen. It just felt like our family gathering all over again. And so I'm very grateful for the prayers I received, and I definitely needed them this point in time for me. And so thank you for all the kind words that were given to me. And I definitely experienced God through all this from the words that were given, because they were just so strong and powerful that I've waited those 7 months to hear Him speak through some amazing people, because they definitely helped me keep on going. And I think that church drive-through was definitely needed because it made all of us so welcomed, and I'm very grateful for Imagine. So thank you, Imagine, for doing that. Love you guys.
Good morning, Imagine family. I just want to say last Sunday was freaking awesome. I loved seeing everyone, yelling your names from the car. Thanks to Uncle Mark and Auntie Paula for greeting, Christine for the lay and the encouragement and getting that hype action, Jess with the scones that were amazing, and the cold brew, and Marty's singing, always on point, fantastic. I need an album. Kevin laying it down with the pastoral truth and the jokes, you know. Ganaron's doing communion was great. Jen and Brian at the end being cute as heck. It was just good to see people, my people, our community. And I didn't realize how much I needed that and how necessary it was and just how fun it was. I actually miss being together and feeling everyone's presence, you know. Even if I'm not in front, or I'm not on worship team and I'm not with kids and just I'm in the back cracking weird jokes, you know, it's still important to have this community. I'm a part of this community. We're all parts of this community, and we're all connected and we're all important and vital. It also reminded me to just take a breath and to reflect and tell myself, you know, you've been through some shiz this year and you're okay. We're okay. You know, I went from having no job to having 2 jobs. I went to a toxic family living situation to my own place. Really terrible relationship with my sister, and now she's talking to me like a normal person. There's just a lot that's been going on, and I just think that last Sunday helped me to take a moment to pause and to recognize and to just be grateful and give thanks. So I love you all. I miss you all. I wish I could hug you, but we just have to do it through the screen. And I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. Love you guys.
I will sing of your goodness. I will sing of your love. Though the seasons come quickly, you have always been enough. Though the night may get darker, though the waiting seems long, you have always been faithful to remind me of your love. And you are good. In the morning I'll sing you are good. In the evening I'll sing you are good. You are good to me. You have always
So last Sunday we had our first drive-through church service, and it's one we would have never imagined having to do. I always hear people say, you know, I drove all the way to church. I didn't want to get out of the car, and I didn't, and I turned around and went home. And here we are, you know, that's what we're doing now. And it's just an adjustment to the times, and it's good, and it's, you know, an alternative. Some summary points real quick. It rained, and it was beautiful to see all the people at the stations, you know, pouring out their love for us, talking one-on-one, despite it, you know, pouring. And then to hear Marty playing music live left me on a higher note the rest of the day. And another station giving us communion. And here we are in a car as if we're doing drive-through food. But it's the sacrament, and it's not fast food. It's good for our soul, and it's, you know, it's everlasting fuel. So I hope we can reconnect more like this. It was a great experience, so thanks.
It was great. Just getting to talk to, maybe not everyone, but just getting to talk to someone from church outside of small groups made me feel a lot, it made me just connected. It made me feel like the church was reaching out, and it just made me feel good on the inside. It provided a lot of happiness for me.
I had a great time, except for Taylor Kiaha cutting me off while we were waiting in line.
The drive-through just reminded me the best ways that we experience God is when we show up with each other.
This guy, like talking stories, just has the audacity to swerve and cut in front of me in a car full of hooligans. But I love you guys. But honestly, it was great. It was good to see everyone. It was good to just connect and catch up, especially with those people who don't have social. I probably answered the question, oh, when did you get back from Hilo? I don't know, about a half dozen times. But yeah, it was just wholesome. It reminded me of what Sundays used to be like, and I'm hoping that there's more. Love you guys.
I was reminded by God through this experience just how far He's brought me and brought all of us. Just like the future of Imagine is going to look different than it did in the past, in the location and how we meet, and just how it's changed from Bevy to where we are now, and then previous locations before. Like, those changes mark a journey, mark history, and in the same way, it's like I can think of how God's brought me, just how He works on our hearts throughout time. And so just coming back together seemed to mark time again, and it's just so good to see everybody. It really was nourishing.
Great. It was so good to see everybody that was there, that we were able to wave at or speak with. Enjoyed it much more than I thought I would. It was just so refreshing. I really miss you guys. I miss the community.
Yeah, I think it was really good and refreshing to see new faces and people that we've only seen like virtually for the last 7 months. And so even as an introverted person, I was like so energized by seeing people and saying hi and just like all the good energy. And yeah, it was really much needed.
I think what I was reminded by God through this experience is that we are not alone and that there is a place for us here. I think it can feel really easy to just feel like we're floating, especially in this time of not really seeing anybody or feeling like we have a community. But to be reminded that God sees us and knows our desires and all of our needs, and showed us that through this community that we've come to be a part of, was just really sweet.
For me, I was reminded of hope at the drive-thru on Sunday, that there's hope that all this is going to be over one day, that things are going to return to normal, whether like it's quite a long time from now still, but eventually we're all going to be able to be together every Sunday and worship together, and that there's going to be like fun and laughter, and yeah, it's just a reminder that there is hope amongst all of this.
I just want to send a little thank you to Kevin and Christine and the core group that planned that whole event, and shout out to them. That was awesome. I mean, it was simple and done well, and I hope everybody enjoyed it, and I think a lot of us needed that. You know, it wasn't very long, but it was a good fix for now, and hopefully everything gets a little bit better and a more simpler later on. Okay, guys, take care.
It is so good to be back together for the first time after we met in person for the first time after not meeting for 7 months. Now, I know you already got to hear from people about their experience, about what that was like, and we wanted to make room to be able to hear more from people this week because the experience was so unique last week, because we always want to hear, like, we get to hear so many stories from people. So we wanted you all to know and to hear the stories of what that experience was like last week. So while I have something shorter to say today, I did just want to say a couple really simple things to the church where we are after our experience last week. So first, let me begin with this one short statement by Jesus in Matthew 28:20. It's short, but there's still a lot that's here. Matthew 28:20. Jesus says, "Surely I am with you always to the very end of the age." This is one of the last things that Jesus says to the disciples and his followers during his last conversation that he ever has with them after he was resurrected. He gives them a charge to make disciples. He calls them forward into the work, and he ends by saying, "But surely I am with you always." Now, here's a little bit of an observation that we don't always take into consideration, but when you first come across, kind of blows your mind and is very fascinating. See, one of the most fascinating things about the Easter stories in the Gospels after Jesus returns to people after the resurrection is that Jesus was dead for 3 days, comes back to life, and during his interactions with people, barely mentions what's beyond or heaven or the afterlife at all. In fact, I don't think Jesus mentions the afterlife or heaven at all when he comes back after the resurrection. Think about that. If the gospel was all about or only focus on where we go after we die, why would Jesus come back after his resurrection and not even mention it? See, what Jesus does is he keeps pointing people's attention to the sacredness and to the weight of life that is here right now. See, Matthew 28:16, Jesus tells the disciples to make disciples. Mark 16:9-20 shares about the good news of liberation. Luke 26:36-41, Jesus offers peace to the disciples. John 20:22, Jesus breathes on them and they receive the breath and the Spirit of God. Jesus comes and eats with them. Jesus invites them to follow him. It's like Jesus returns and keeps saying, it's all still here. It's all about what's happening here. It's the goodness and the sacredness and the holiness of all of life right now. It's almost like through all these interactions, God is saying to the world through Jesus, I'm still here. The world is still here. You're still here. You're still here with each other. And this is all held together because I am with you always. So from those interactions and stories, I just want to say 3 simple things to the community right now, flowing from that story of Jesus and thinking about where we are as a church and where we are at in our culture. Here's the first thing. You're still here. It's like Jesus returns to the disciples and he's saying, you're still here. You saw the worst thing and you're still here. You were terrified, but you were still here. You were anxious, but you are still here. You witnessed tragedy. It was horrible. You even saw me face death, and yet you are still here. No matter what you've been through the last 7 months, my hope is that after last Sunday and right now, it's a reminder and for you to receive that you're still here. All right, it's something I've told people individually, but I haven't really shared publicly. But I am in the process of writing my first book right now. I'm like 40,000 words in. I've been very focused on it lately. But in the writing, I've been going back over a lot of old stories from my life, both from my childhood, but also from the last 7 years pastoring. And sometimes I look at those as I'm writing, it brings those stories back, and I just remember everything that Christine and I and everything I've been through along the way. I haven't thought about, there's this one conversation within the first year of Imagine, maybe the first 6 months, where it was a conversation with 3 of the girls who helped us start Imagine, people we were very close to at the time. And it was one of those conversations where Christine and I are highly anxious going into it. Like, I remember, that's one of the hardest things about conflict. It's not the moment you're talking, it's what you carry. It's the anxiety, the worry, the anticipation you carry in the in-between spaces of hard conversations, right? Are you with me? So I remember being at the beach before, waiting for them to finish something so we could talk, and we're lying on a beautiful beach here in Hawaii, and I'm just anxious and sick to my stomach. And I remember going into that conversation thinking, if this doesn't go well and these girls decide to leave, I don't know if Imagine can survive that, right? When there's 15 people and 3 critical people leave early on, who knows if you're going to make it through that? And I remember at one point in the conversation, so much had been shared. We go around and it seemed like the moment where this is where in humility and vulnerability, we all get teary-eyed and then kind of come back together. And one girl just relented and she just wouldn't get there, and she just kind of kept fighting the moment. I remember in that moment I was holding my sunglasses, and as I was holding when she was talking, I slowly snapped them without changing my facial expression and just put them on the table like a maniac. But I think about that story and I'm like, as I'm writing, I'm like, but we're still here. Everything we've been through, we're still here, and you're still here. The 7 months has been hard, but you're still here. Think about everything you've been through, but you're still here. Think about the fear, the loss, the anxiety, the anticipation, the changes. But after last Sunday, I just felt compelled from this story, from this reminder of Jesus, to remind all of you, when Jesus says, I am with you always, he also comes back and it's as if he's saying, you're still here. Don't forget how scared you were, because you're still here, standing, making it through. Don't take that for granted. Give yourself credit. Oh, be aware of how present God has been, because you are still here. And when Jesus comes back, he comes back and has all these conversations with his disciples. And the thing is, they're still together. That's the second thing I would say based on these resurrection stories and our experience last week. The church is still here. Do you understand how beautiful and powerful and amazing it is after last Sunday to look around and think about all the changes, all the people who have moved, everything we've all been through, but the church is still here. When Jesus returns after his resurrection, the disciples are still together. Jesus comes back and it's as if he's saying, you have each other. You're still together. Of course it looks different, but what the Spirit has brought together has not been lost, has not been broken, and will not be taken, because the church is still here. For those of you who are there, how good was it to just be in that sort of holy, chaotic mess of Sunday, right? I would be talking to a car and I would see cars lining the edge of the parking lot going out, and I would just be in shock, and I would just be so happy seeing that. And then because I was for like the first 60% of the time before I had to take care of the kids, by take care I mean put True in the front seat, shove any donuts that were around or bacon, and then we watched a little show together. But when I was first there talking to the cars, it was like so amazing to see these cars lined up coming one by one, and you know, the car would come up and I would see the next person, their eyes, it looks like they were just filled with tears, and I'd be like, oh, Christine just got a hold of you, didn't she? That's, you know, strategically that's why we put Christine first, right? We know the ability for her to encourage and affirm, just to have people feel welcomed and celebrated. So people come up with tears in their eyes. I'm like, oh, Christina. You could have just talked to Christine and turned around. And to get any chance to connect with people, and then I'm hot and it's raining, then I'm sweating, then I walk over to Christine and her shield's all like fogged up, but she's still going. And I just knowing the people ahead of me were taking communion and receiving the blessing, knowing they're getting shirts as just a reminder of receiving gifts, watching people stop like in their cars to talk to each other, seeing Auntie Lois at the end in the back of the truck dancing like she's showing up to a concert, you know, throwing shakas the whole time, filming. It was just this holy, chaotic mess that was a reminder from the Spirit that the church is still here. The core, that center, the heartbeat of Imagine is still just as loud as ever, right? The connective tissue of the body of Christ that Imagine lives out locally is still here and strong and ready to keep moving forward in whatever way our world and our situation allows us to do. The church is still here. Would you know that from last Sunday? The church is still here. You're still here, and the church is still here. And the last thing, when we look at last week in those resurrection stories of Jesus, Jesus says, I am with you always. So would you also be reminded and know that God is still here? You're still here, and the church is still here, because the Spirit of God is still here with us always, holding it all together, working in and through the people around you in all these unexpected places of your life. The Spirit is like the electricity animating this universe, the glue, the sacred glue in the in-between spaces, holding it all together and holding you together as well, because God is still here. God is still with you. God is still with our community. It's all still here. The church, it's all still here. The hope, it's all still here. That feel of Imagine, it's all still here. The hospitality and welcome, it's all still here. The blessings, the body of Christ being broken, the blood of Christ being shed for the healing of the world as we take it in, it's all still here. The reminders that you're worthy to receive good gifts that we did at the end, it's all still here. You know, nothing essential has been taken away from who you are in this process. Nothing essential about who you are has been in jeopardy, has ever been threatened, has ever been vulnerable, because who you are in Christ, that centered space where Colossians 3:8 says you are hidden with God in Christ. Nobody can take away what God hides and protects. And who you are, the value that you have just for existing, the delight that you bring to God just by being you, the heart that you have that just pulses out the sacredness and goodness of God just because your heart is beating. None of that has been threatened. None of it has been taken away, and nothing essential can be taken away from you, no matter how much we all go through. And I would actually argue not only has nothing essential been taken away from you this 7 months, but I would argue some of your greater essence has probably emerged a little bit more, right? How creative you really are, how resilient you really are, how connected you really are, how seen, how loved, how known by God you really are. Nothing has been taken from you, and I would argue more of you has probably been revealed in this process. After the resurrection, Jesus comes back and says, I am with you always. It's as if he's saying, you're still here. The church is still here. I am still here. There's still work to be done. There's still amazing things to create. There's still connections that exist. There's still the foundation of grace that we are all walking on. There's still the sacredness of life that is so thick you can wring it out with a towel. Like, it's all still here. So would you carry that with you this week and into this last chapter of the year? You're still here. Let's celebrate that. Celebrate that for yourself. This didn't break you. This didn't end you like you may have thought. You're still here. And let's celebrate the church is still here. We saw that on Sunday, still alive and vibrant, and it's still Imagine. And that's all possible because God is still here. God will never forsake us, never forget us, never move on, never forget, never push us to the side. God is still here. So we are going to continue to pray for you, continue to hold you closely in our hearts, and would you just remember that it's all still here and that it's going to get better.
Father's heart, mystery he lavishes on us, as deep cries out to deep, how desperately he wants us. Things of earth stand next to him like a candle to the sun, unfailing Father, who compares to his great love. Behold his holy Son, the Lion and the Lamb given to us. The Word became a man, my soul shall know its Savior. Forsaken for the sake of all mankind, salvation is in his blood. Jesus Messiah, the righteous died for love. It was impossible broken hearted like my way till my time on earth is done. Holy Spirit, within me, thy kingdom come. Oh, Holy Spirit, your work in me begun. Let it sing to my soul. Let it sing to my soul. How great your love is. How great your love is. Let it sing to my soul. Let it sing to my soul. How great your love is. How great your love is. Let it sing to my soul. Let it sing to my soul. Let it sing to my soul. How great your love is. How great your love is. One more time. Let it sing to my soul. Let it sing to my soul. How great your love is. How great your love is. It sings my soul.
I love that message that was spoken. The message reminding us that we're still here, that God is still here, the church is still here, because it's so easy to wonder that during tough times like this. I mean, even I have wondered during this time where we've moved to the virtual platform, like, who is actually still with us? Because we don't get to see each other every week. You know, God, where are you in certain hard moments? And then you're reminded of truth, and you're reminded that you're not forgotten. And I was reminded that more so than ever last Sunday during the drive-through experience. I shared how everyone received and was celebrated and was welcomed with a lei. Well, it was I that had to put the orders in for the lei to have everyone, have one for Sunday. And there was a part of me where it was like, nah, we can go without a lei, or we could just, if there's some left over, whatever it might be. And I know some volunteers from before is like, no need, And I sensed the Lord saying, no, everybody needs to get a lei. I want everybody to experience that moment. Whether they're just coming through a drive-through, whether they're volunteer, whether they're pastor, I want everyone to be able to experience that welcome and that sense of celebration. And so on just a last minute fly notice, I called the place and said, oh, you know what, this is how much we actually need. And this is how much we actually want. And I had no idea, we had no idea, who would show up on Sunday. So much has changed. We haven't been together in 7 months. And I kid you not, the last car that showed up after our church experience, there were 2 leis left. And in that truck, there were 2 people in it. And even one of the people in the truck began to cry and shared with me how she had thought that she was too late. They thought that they were too late and that they had missed it. And little did they know that they did not miss it, that there were 2 leis waiting for them to experience the welcome and the celebration that you're not too late. Like, this has been waiting for you. And not only did those 2 people get their leis, but everyone, every person who drove through the drive-through experience, everyone in their cars, every volunteer, every pastor, we all got to experience one. There was not one lei left behind and left unused. Everyone was able to receive a lei during that Sunday. It was a reminder of God's presence and truth, that He does not forget us, that He knows all of us by name. He knows the very littlest detail. The invitation to the party is there for everyone. It's just a matter of fact of who's going to answer that invitation, who's going to show up. And if you show up, you get to experience this. And that's the power, and that's the beauty of showing up, because God is always ready and waiting and wanting to welcome and to celebrate each and every single one of us back into that journey. And so would you know that God is with us, you are not forgotten, and would you receive this benediction as you move forward in your journey in this new season that is here. So may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make His face shine on you and be gracious to you. And may the Lord turn His face towards you and give you peace. And the community of Imagine says, Amen.